Welcome to the virtual open day for English Language and Linguistics at Kent. I'm Heidi Colthup, Deputy Head of Department, and I'm going to give you a very brief overview of what our department does. So, what is English Language and Linguistics? As you can see from the diagram here, we cover everything from the basic speech sounds, phonetics, all the way through to pragmatics, what the meaning of those sounds, those words are, in the context of discourse. So what we mean when we share jokes and how we explain ourselves. But we also cover things like language teaching, stylistics, sociolinguistics, and we also do our own independent research. And I'll explain some of that as we go through. So English Language and Linguistics is where the humanities meets the sciences. So that means that we have a very broad department, and some colleagues do scientific research and look at things like wavelengths and how different pitches in our voices mean different things. And other colleagues in the department look at how tone and language is used within text, and that crosses over quite often into English literature. So you can combine an English language and linguistics degree with lots of other different subjects, and we have an awful lot of students that do this. Particularly drama in English language and linguistics is popular, as is mixing English literature with English language and linguistics. But you can also, even if you take a single honours degree, you can take wild modules, which would allow you to have a taster of some of the modules in other departments. And likewise, other departments, quite often, the students from there choose to take wild modules with us. So it means that you can very much tailor your degree to the sorts of things that you're interested in. So what do we teach in the first year? Well, generally, this is what our first year would look like. So you would cover things like language and structure, the sounds of English, foundations of linguistics, language, self and society, tackling text, global Englishes, and grammar for everyone. So I say this is what it generally looks like, but that's because we often update our modules and sometimes change some of the basic things that we look at so that our degree is kept current, up to date, and very much relevant for our changing world. So what can you do with a degree in English language and linguistics once you've graduated? Well, an awful lot of our students go on to teach, as it says, in the UK and abroad, and some of our students teach English as a second language or a third language here or abroad, and some of our students teach English language and English literature. An awful lot of our students also go on to become speech therapists and, as it says, speech and language therapy. So we have an awful lot of people who then move into the NHS with an English language and linguistics degree. But we also have a large number of students who end up working in the media. So they go into journalism or marketing, advertising, and are very well prepared through lots of our different modules that offer looks at the media and how the media works. Likewise with speech and language therapy, we have modules that look at how speech and language develops in lots of different circumstances. And likewise with teaching, we have modules that look at how language is taught. So we also have students who go on to work for some of the big names like Amazon, Google, Facebook, and national and international governments because of their understanding in artificial intelligence and, again, how language, how grammar works. We also have a fair few students who actually decide to stay on and take further qualifications with us and then join academia and do their own research. So our staff are interested in lots of different things. As I said earlier, we have a very broad department. So we do have members of staff who look specifically at language in atypical circumstances. So autism spectrum disorders, dementia, and other processing differences. And this means that we can actually start, or we do, contribute to research that will help people in the real world who are having processing problems. We also look at language variation and change. So, for example, one particular piece of research that's been going on now for some time in our department is why does the village of Aylsham, which is a small village between Canterbury and Dover, why do they have a unique version of British English that's spoken nowhere else in the UK? So that's something that, as I say, is ongoing, along with work on how people process language and looking particularly, as it says above, in autism and other spectrum disorders. We also have members of staff looking at how sarcasm and irony and jokes work, and that comes under semantics and pragmatics. And if we can understand that, those different features, particularly with irony and jokes, then we can actually begin to make better forms of artificial intelligence, because at the moment, computers aren't terribly good at understanding jokes, and certainly aren't really able to actually make up their own jokes yet. We also have members of staff looking at stylistics and creative writing. So how does analysing text make better writers? And this is something that is a growing area as people want to really understand exactly what it is they've written, or understand what other people have written, and understand how the media works, for example, and what we're really being told. So, as I said, language in the media and writing in the media, what's really being said with particular words and phrases and images alongside those words and phrases. We also have members of staff looking at things like grammar and morphology. So are there universal rules about language? And language acquisition. How do children learn to communicate? And how can we better learn languages as adults? Also, some members of staff look at phonetics and phonology. Why are some phrases musical? What sounds do we make with our voices? And is that different depending on gender or nationality or class? So some of that experimental research that we carry out is done in our own linguistics laboratory. And we're very lucky that we have got this specially set aside, specially built space for us. That's our linguistics laboratory, and we can go there and use things like our eye tracking equipment and software that we have that's there in the picture on the left, and that sort of thing would be used particularly with looking at how people read images and text. So we might want to look at how somebody would look at a web page, for example. What's their eye drawn to first? But also we can, because we've got a soundproof room there, we can also carry out recordings of people talking. So it might be one person talking on their own, or we might have a pair carrying out a dialogue, and we can then record it and look specifically at the types of things that they've said, how they've said it, their pitch, their tone, and so on. And that's something that we also have. We have staff using, of course, because we're carrying out specific research, but we have students helping with that and taking part in some of that research too. And that's something that's done not just with postgraduate students, but undergraduate students too. So my particular area is writing in the media, and we have this extremely popular module that happens in the third year, but it has attached to it our own publication, and the link to it is down at the bottom. So it's on a website called Medium, and if you search for writing in the media, you'll find us very easily. And it's been going now for a number of years, and the particular piece that's featured there, what I wish I'd known before I got a greyhound, that's a piece that's been read many, many thousands of times. So we have, in general, we have around about 3,500 people looking at our publication every week. So it's extremely popular, and the students that write for it are those taking the writing in the media module, and they write an article every week throughout the course of that module. And modules are the name that we call our courses. So students who take that module will spend quite a long time writing pieces throughout that term. And an awful lot of those students do then go on to work in the media and related industries. So you can follow us on lots of different social media platforms and find out more. We are on Facebook and Instagram and on Twitter too. And an awful lot of us within the department also have our own personal Twitter accounts where we often share various humorous things, as well as things like internships, job opportunities, and interesting developments in research too. And finally, this is something that we are giving to all of our new students before they arrive in September, the 1 hour degree game. So this was developed at Kent last year, and it's a choose your own adventure game, and it takes around about an hour or so to play right the way through, and you can find out an awful lot more about life at Kent and what it would be like to do a degree here. So thank you for listening. Don't forget, do get in touch if you have any questions or queries, and do have a look and follow us on the various bits of social media. And if you want to get in touch with us there, you can.